Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is my honor and privilege to be here with you today. My name is Nathan Kolb, and I am the host of the Credit Safe webinars. I also am the guy who does brand engagement for Credit Safe and a few other things, and it is just a joy each and every week to be able to come here and be a part of this discussion that happens in regards to things going on in the B2B industry, what's going on in the economy, what's going on that affects your business directly. Today we have a great topic and some great speakers, but before we get into that, I want to make sure that you can interact with us. So what's going to happen is at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little text bubble with the Q&A above it. If you've already figured that out, then great. If not, that is how you ask us questions and interact with us. I'll be monitoring that the whole time. I have that screen open right now, and I will be interacting with that, letting you know most of your questions are going to be answered live at the end of this webinar. So be aware, you can ask questions as soon as you think of them, toss them in there, go ahead. I will pay attention to them. And let you know if you just have a comment or something, go ahead. I will respond back to you via text through the Q&A setup. But most of those things will be answered live. I will ask the question at the end to our speakers, and we'll be good to go. I want to give you a reminder that today's webinar will be recorded, just like all the ones that we do. So you are on a recorded webinar, and we will be providing that recording as well as other applicable links that are going to be discussed today in a follow-up email and on a landing page that'll be specific to this. So you'll get a follow-up email in the next 24 to 36 hours. You'll receive that, and it'll have all the information on this, the link to the recording, all that type of stuff. It'll also, and I'll remind you again at the end about this, it will also give you the opportunity on how to connect with our speakers. So it'll all be on there, and you'll have that coming to your inbox on the email that you provided to register for this webinar. Speaking of the webinar, today we're going to be discussing the value of trade payment data. So if you're versed in this topic and just want to know more, this is a great thing to be in. If you are an absolute neophyte about this, that's okay. We're going to kind of go over some background on it and give you an idea of what we're talking about here and then move in. We're very fortunate to have two experts from Credit Safe here in this area. The first one you see here is Jeff Bronstein. Jeff has 30 years of experience with leading corporate and nonprofit organizations in the commercial information area. He has an in-depth knowledge of technology and the rapid pace of change in the business world. He's worked with many Fortune 1000 companies to suggest and provide a myriad of business solutions to increase their efficiency and profitability. And then he's going to tell you a little bit about what he does here at Credit Safe, so I'm not going to steal his thunder on that. If you have been in our webinars before, you may recognize the lovely lady that is joining us today as well. Michelle Reagan-Zamora is our CRM Premier Accounts Manager at Credit Safe with a background in sales, travel, and personal finance. She has extensive experience and expertise in data solutions, B2B credit, client relationships, and for the past 6 years, and you'll hear this in a moment if you haven't already heard her, for the past 6 years, she's been living in the US, having come from the UK and working for Credit Safe in the UK prior to that. So guys, thanks so much for being here. Sorry about that. I had a little balance issue there, so I apologize.
Happens to the best of us, Nathan.
I'm looking at the camera, not paying attention to what's going on with the rest of my body. So it happens. But I've taken up enough of your time. I want you guys to start talking about this, and let's learn a little bit about the value of trade payment data.
Well, let me first of all say thank you to everyone that's on the conference call today for being here. We very much appreciate you spending your valuable time with us. And this is probably the least sexy topic that we're going to have as far as the webinars that Credit Safe has put on, because it's fundamental. It's one of the basic fundamental building blocks of the commercial credit world. And it's about communication. So just like in everybody's personal lives, communication is such an important aspect of how we go about our day. Without it, it becomes very difficult to get along with the people in your lives. So in the business world, communications is critical as well. And the ability to understand what's going on within your company's accounts receivable environment, your customers, your supply chain, and all aspects of your business it comes down to communication. And so for over 100 years, there has been a method of exchanging information in the commercial credit world. And it started out with credit exchange groups. And I want to put to rest the urban myth that I was actually in one of those original exchange groups. That is not true. So, but I was involved at the beginning of the electronic aspect of the exchange of information. And before I move off of industry trade groups, many of those industry trade groups that were founded 100 years ago, they're still in existence and they're still exchanging information. They're an important part of the B2B commercial information world. But 40 years ago, the various bureaus, and starting with TRW, they started collecting accounts receivable information. And I know a little bit about that because I was with TRW back in the original days. And I was asked to go out into the universe on the East Coast and collect information, accounts receivable information from the Fortune 500 companies on the East Coast. Needless to say, I was thrown out of every single Fortune 500 company on the East Coast with the statement that you're nuts. We are not going to give you the most valuable piece of information associated with our business. But eventually we broke through. And today, that has become the foundation for the B2B information world, and accounts receivable information is the fundamental building block for that. So this just amplifies on what I said. Understanding trade payment gives you the ability to establish trends, understand how your customers are not only paying you, but paying other individuals and other companies within your vertical, outside of your vertical, primary, secondary, tertiary suppliers. And it's critical for individual risk managers to understand how you are going to be treated going forward with a customer. So one fact that a lot of people probably don't realize is the depth and breadth of the system that's been built over all these years. It's estimated that there is somewhere around $120 trillion in B2B trade payment payments that are made on an annual basis. 25 trillion of that is estimated to be in the US. So that information is critical to making the global credit system work. And so there's lots of different ways that you can get paid, but you can get credit cards, you can get a number of different methods, but the typical way is on terms. And understanding that particular aspect of how you're going to get paid based upon your terms, trade payment information can help you establish that. Understanding what type of time period you're going to get paid in has a lot to do with how you are going to work with various companies that want to buy from you. So the goal in collecting trade payment information, along with significant other aspects of information that goes into a bureau, is to establish the ability to deliver a worldwide view of where customers are, how they pay their suppliers, and are you as an individual company going to get paid? This is a view of CreditSafe's world. This is the view of CreditSafe's coverage worldwide. And our goal is to be able to deliver financial information and trade payment information in every one of these countries. And so just to give you a little bit of a perspective, this is what a typical database would look like for a commercial bureau. And as you can see, there's a myriad of information that gets delivered to create the database and create the information sources that you rely on each and every day. But the key building block within this environment is trade data. And from the trade data, we can build scores, we can build models, we can do statistical analysis and analytics that can help you run your business and grow your business on a daily basis. So verifying trade payment behavior on prospects is something that each and every one of us utilizes to help improve cash flow. And so, particularly in today's world, there's probably not many things that are more important than cash flow within a business. Every CFO, I guarantee you, when they get up in the morning, they're looking to see, how the cash flow has continued to flow within an organization. So trade payment data helps that happen. So understanding again the trade payment behavior, using trade payment data helps you understand the various trends within your customers and within verticals. And it's not just from a risk perspective. It's also important to look at trade payment behavior and being able to establish information associated with your suppliers and your supply chain. And the other aspect of it is by mining trade payment behavior, you also have the ability to look at opportunities within your customer base to potentially grow more sales and grow your business. I'd be surprised if I got much disagreement on this particular slide, because the fact of the matter is fraud is a growing problem and it's getting more and more difficult each and every day. And companies that have established track records of having multiple suppliers and having the ability to check who those suppliers are, that a company actually exists and they are paying their bills, goes a long way to preventing fraud and mitigating the risk. So another important aspect of this is that there is a significant benefit to your customers. You can help your customers grow by helping them establish their credit and showing that they're good customers and they pay their bills. It's just like the consumer world. In the consumer world, those people that pay their bills on time, they typically have a good credit score, and that good credit score gives them the ability to buy at a lower interest rate. Their insurance rates are better. There are all kinds of benefits associated with that. It's the same in the business world. In the business world, your customers have a credit profile. And the better that profile is, the more likely it is that you're going to sell to them along with others, and that you're going to give them better terms. And you're going to give them more, the ability to get more services and products to help them grow their business. It helps the entire economic system to provide trade payment data to the various bureaus so they can help your customers grow their business. So I'm going to turn this over to Michelle at this point in time to talk about one of the added benefits that you get from CreditSafe by providing your trade payment information to CreditSafe. This is just an example of one of the many tools that is available from other sources as well to help you understand your business, understand your verticals that you're in, get analytic information, statistical information, and helps you, again, understand what's happening within your business. And Michelle, I'm going to turn this over to you at this point.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you guys letting me interject today onto your presentation. When I heard you were doing a seminar and a webinar on the trade payment, I feel like this is something that goes hand in hand with what you're talking about. In a part because people, when they give in something, as with the universal law, if you give, you receive. Some people want to know what's in it for me, but we do give our 3D ledger service free to all of our customers. But it's something that is only really workable once you share your data with CreditSafe and you start to build the information within our reports. So as an account manager for CreditSafe for eons, as Nathan kindly let everybody know, in this country and across the pond, the feedback from our 3D service is great. It's something that, and this is my customers' words, it helps prioritize collections, It builds a bridge between sales and collections because the information Jeff mentioned, some analytics, there is analytical data in there. And, you know, sales and finance managers love to be able to delve down into the analytics to see, you know, where the ideal customer comes from. And this tool helps you do that. So let's take a quick look at some of the information. I promise not to take up too much of your time, but if we can take a look at this, and then I'm going to see what we can do. So this is the page that I was talking about, where it helps you sort of prioritize the collection. You can see some pie charts there. Those are telling you, the one tells you how companies are paying you as opposed to how they're paying other businesses. You can then see, you know, what company is paying you quicker, are they paying you slower than other people, gives you some focus. And the other one is the age of debt. So it tells you, you know, you want that to be as green as possible. The traffic light system's in full effect there. And it gives you, you know, anybody that's in the red is way beyond their terms and you want to rein those in. A lot of that information is clickable. So you can go in and export any of the information within those fields into an Excel spreadsheet. You'll find that the same with very much most of the pages in the 3D ledger. It's giving you notification there at the top of the page about when the last import was. So you choose when you import the data, daily, weekly, monthly, and that's how often we update that. And you can see that it also includes 12 countries now. So it's not just domestic, it is international. Yeah, if you could click onto the next one, Jeff. I'm just going to do one more on the summary page because I love this page. This is the section that I was talking about where the banding increments are and the aging buckets, and you can click through and export that information. You don't just have to see it as numbers and values. You can see it as a percentage of debt, a percentage of the line. It is very customizable to suit how you want to see it. So all of the thousands of people that use this don't all want the same view. We've taken that information on board from our customers and built it in so that if you do have suggestions about that kind of thing, you are able to let us know. Let's just take a look at the next page and see the analysis side of things. So this is the analytics that I was talking about. And this is the part where sales and credit can come together and analyze the customers that you have at the moment and where the strengths are, where the weaknesses are, where are they located? You know, what is a good customer for you? Is it normal for your customers to have tax liens? Is it normal for them to have judgment? It is slightly different for each of the countries. So you'll notice that the USA is highlighted on this screen. You can change it slightly for the other countries because filings are slightly different everywhere you go in the world. So different pieces of information are built in, but it really allows you to narrow down the information on your customers and do a lot of in-depth diving. And this is where the sales managers usually come to me and say, this has been really helpful. Because as I say, it's not just your sales data, it's our information and your information together. So what a lot of my customers will do is use this to narrow down their top customer, what type of, you know, how does their top customer look like? And then use that to produce sales lists for the sales team based on the ideal customer, but they're already pre-credit checked. So they already know that these people are going to be good to go. The salespeople are going to make their money. The company is going to be good, and you're going to get paid. So this is all useful to keep the wheels moving at the moment when everybody, you know, needs to do as much as possible to keep everything afloat. With the current climate being slightly different and more challenging for everybody involved. If we can just look at the last page, I promise not to take up too much of your time. And I just want to quickly run back through the reporting that I mentioned. This is the page that I was talking about where you can see accounts by balance, accounts by salespeople, accounts by credit operator. You can see where they're trading above and below our limits and recommendations. Any of those reports come out in an Excel file. You can choose that. You can look at old reports. You can customize reports. And that front page that we saw with the dashboard that showed you the summary, that summary was telling you what your average days beyond terms is on your customers, what the average daily sales are, what the average rating is for your customers. That dashboard can be emailed to whoever you want monthly and get that every time that your data is updated, so you can keep a track on that high level information. Now, this tool is something that our competitors do offer, but they tend to offer it upwards of around $10,000. Now, I did mention that we do give this free to all of our customers. We want to encourage people to share. We want to help encouraged, the use of the information and melding that information together. So if you did have suggestions for reports, as I say, they can be customized. Some of these reports have come from customer feedback again. So that's a quick overview of the 3D Ledger service that you get. We do have a full webinar available. My colleague Scott Garda, he did a webinar on that not so long ago. I'm sure I'll ask Nathan if I can do another one at some point, because it is something that people talk to me a lot about. But thank you for your time. I appreciate that. I'll give it back to you, Jeff. I'll stop chatting.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thanks for
Michelle.
your time.
You're
welcome.
I've been with CreditSafe a little over a year now, and 3D Ledger is one of the aspects of the service delivered by CreditSafe that I talk about a lot, particularly companies that are data contributors. It's a great tool, and as Michelle mentioned, there's no cost associated with it. It's one of the benefits of providing information to CreditSafe. And so I'll conclude our portion of the show and just say that the benefits of contributing data, it's good for your company, it's good for your customers, it's good for the credit industry. It's fundamental building block of the trade system that's been built over time. And I would encourage all of the companies that are listening in on this particular webinar to connect with us, contribute your accounts receivable. We have some valuable tools to provide you and some insights on your customers that isn't available to you from any other source. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time very much. Nathan, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, folks, just remember I know there may be questions and everything like that because we have a bunch. And you can keep going. We are doing good on time, so go right ahead and keep asking those questions, but I'm just going to start firing them away. And whichever one of you or both of you would like to answer, please feel free to go ahead and do that. So question, and these are in no particular order, folks. So if you've sent them, just understand I'm getting to them as I see them. When sending a trade file to CreditSafe, what data elements can be accepted?
I'll take that one, Michelle. So yeah, it's the fundamental information that's typical with any accounts receivable information. We're looking for your unique identifier, what you use to identify a customer within your system. We're looking for the name of the company, and then if there's a DBA, AKA, we're looking for the street address, city, state, zip. We're looking for the high credit. We're looking for the current balance, and we're looking for an aging of that balance. Terms, we'd like you to share that as well. That's the basic information. I have lots of documentation, as you would imagine, that I can provide to you that gives you, highlights all of the various fields that we're looking for and can use.
Okay. And if there's additions to these questions, if you want more information or whatever, just because you've asked one question doesn't mean you can't keep asking. So just know that, folks, too. So this one is kind of, it's two questions, but I'm going to put them together here because they're both about the API setup. So what's a typical integration API setup take? Like, what's the time frame on that? And then also, what is the cost? They're specifically asking in regards to SAP.
There's no cost from the CreditSafe side. And I mean, candidly, the time usually is at the end users, so on end user side. On CreditSafe side, our API is extremely easy to connect with. It really depends on your IT time and resources that they can dedicate to it. Within CreditSafe, we can set you up probably within 48 to 72 hours and be able to have you up and running.
Yeah, I would say for anybody that's already a CreditSafe customer to contact their account manager and ask in relation to that. There could be something specific to your account that they would strongly recommend. It is usually looked at on a case-by-case basis. For, as account managers, we tend to recommend, because we get to know our customers well, and, we know what would work best for you. But just completely right. It's normally about, what time and resources you have to, as a business, allocate towards implementing an API. because we've been, capable and ready to provide these for years. So we're good to go when you are, and we're here to sort of, hold your hand along the way. We have a full support team pretty much around the globe to help with any API integrations. And it's definitely something we strongly recommend.
Yeah, and I'll actually add into that just this as well, and it'll be linked in all the information on the landing page. But we have preferred partners that work with that, specifically with SAP and all of that have already got this type of thing connected, and all they have to do is a very small modification to your particular platform, and it'll be done. And so it can be a really quick setup for that, and because it's already kind of a out of the box type solution, it helps with the cost as well. But we've done actually a couple of webinars on this. So we'll link to those. So folks that want to look at that, they can go ahead and watch those as well.
And I'll mention one more time that there's no cost involved.
Yeah, right. Yeah. From the CreditSafe side, there's no cost. That's a third party, getting your SAP to work properly thing. You're absolutely right. I appreciate you pointing that out, Jeff. So can the customer data, can their data basically be weighted or handled differently in the analytics than the CreditSafe provided data, is the question here on I guess in 3D Ledger is what I'm assuming here.
Okay. Do you want to read that one back to me one more time? I'm not quite sure.
Sure. So in the customization that you were talking about is where I'm assuming this question's coming from. In the 3D Ledger and everything, can the data that they're providing on their own customers and everything like that be weighted differently or given a different set of criteria than the CreditSafe data that we're providing on other things, or the data we're providing on those same customers?
And I'm assuming
so I'm not 100% certain. Sorry, Jeff.
I'm assuming this is a 3D question.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So as soon as I mentioned the customization, I think that might be what we're leaning towards here. And I think more the question, might be weighted towards rather than when we're talking about weighting, that normally is in relation to a score that's pushed out. Now, the data that's available in the 3D doesn't necessarily just take into consideration the scoring. I think it might be more of if you're looking for a weighting and you have your own score methods in place, we do have a decision maker tool that's available to use in that kind of thing. And there are ways to customize that information. Absolutely. So that might be something that we need to delve a little bit deeper in. I'm really interested in that question. And if we can make sure that I get that person's information so we can catch up on that. Because if it's not something that I can offer straight away, if I don't fully understand it, then I'm very interested in looking at a solution that's something we can do. So let's look at that and see. But yes.
Yeah, I will make sure that connection happens here. So 2 more questions here that I have so far, and folks, you can definitely keep asking. Michelle, you mentioned, I think it was you, I don't think it was Jeff, was talking about how often you can just auto set this up to get the trade information. One of you did, let me put it that way. And they're just asking, how often do you suggest that it should happen, that type of an exchange should happen?
As far as contributing data, I'm assuming?
Yes, correct.
We would like to get it every 30 days. Okay. So when a company closes their books the end of the month, whenever they're finished with that process, we would love to get a trade file at that point in time. And there's a number of different ways to deliver it to us. We can set up an SFTP site if that's what a company would prefer. We have a link that is available for data contributors that they can send the data to once they've closed out their books and are ready to move on to the next month. And we have a data team that is dedicated to working with companies around this process. And they're good at what they do and happy to work with anybody that wants to provide data to us.
Cool.
I think following on from that, the frequency of the information is really important, because when you're looking at a business company report, obviously we love to see the financials, but that information is only as fresh as when they filed their last set of accounts. So getting this continuing payment data into a report really gives a good picture of the information that's available and how people really are paying their bills right now. So getting that information every 30 days is perfect, because that's when most people, they close out a month. and then share that data. Some people do it more frequently, and we won't necessarily complain about that. But by all means, at least once a month is great.
Well, one of the benefits of contributing on a 30-day cycle as well is that over time you can establish trends. You can look at trends quarterly, semi-annual, annual, year over year. It gives you the ability to get a more in-depth view of customers and your overall portfolio. It establishes, a lot of businesses are seasonal. And so that helps you understand the seasonality of a business. So by contributing on a 30-day cycle, that gives you a view that, again, gives you a higher understanding of your customer base.
Absolutely. All right, we got one more question here, unless something comes in while you're answering this. And it's if another reporting service, credit reporting service or something is already integrated into your ERP, what modifications would have to be made to add CreditSafe to that?
As
Rather
far as
technical question there.
Well, okay. So is that about contributing data to CreditSafe or integrating CreditSafe?
That is my assumption, that it is
Okay.
the back and forth, actually, the exchange of both contributing and taking the information back.
In the case where companies are already contributing to another bureau, we can just take a copy of that file. We take that format and we can work with any of the formats that are currently being utilized by another bureau. So it shouldn't be any work at the other end for a customer or a prospect to provide data to CreditSafe. We should be able, 99.9% of the time, we should be able to take that file.
Okay, and I have one that just popped up right here. It says, I've never used 3D Ledger before. Do I need to contact my rep before I start adding portfolios for customers? I don't see an option to add any information on the 3D Ledger tab. So apparently, Michelle, people were following along with your demo on their setup and are looking at this right now.
Good, thank you. I'm glad you're interested and excited as I am, because I'm Welsh, so I get overexcited about this kind of thing, especially I haven't had a glass of wine yet, but don't get me started. So
that's after this.
Ledger.
We do that on the wrap up after this.
Okay, I'm down. Count me in. So in order to get the information into the 3D Ledger, you do need to first start sharing your data. Now, as Jeff said, it's great to have historical information. So if you want to just share last month's file, that's okay. But if you want to share the last 6 months files, that's even better. That's going to give more history and more data to you. But yeah, you need to get us the first file across. We'll make sure that we share the information on, of course, how to do that, because that's what we're talking about today. And once you start to get that information, we recommend that you connect with your rep, just so you can walk through it. There is an online guide, as I say, there is a webinar, there is an FAQ, all of the, the weird and wonderful ways that you can get data these days are available to you, because we like to produce things, and Nathan's great at getting them done. So once we've got that set up, I do recommend you connect with your rep so they can walk you through it. And I've gone over a quick overview today, but there's a lot more in depth, and it can personalize it to you, because the demonstration that I showed is a portfolio. Yours is going to look slightly different because it's your information. So once it's loaded in, that's when I'd recommend you connect with your rep, by all means.
And just to amplify on that just a little bit, a lot of companies, when they start contributing data, they provide historical files as well. They'll give 12 months worth of data so that we can automatically within 3D establish trends and views of customers and portfolios. So that's another aspect of this. It's not just building it over time. We can very quickly deliver a view of customers and portfolios in an historical aspect. So starts with delivering the data. That's my world. Mm-hmm. Michelle and the reps, they help you, walk you through the process of setting up 3D and making sure that it's the most beneficial tool that it can be for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that these folks that have like the more specific questions and everything, that we get the information to their account reps so they can reach out and answer those questions a little more fully or specifically to them. But folks, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for speaking here. That's the end of our questions here. I do want to let you know that we are doing these all the time. We have a new series starting up next week that we're super excited about with our new partners, the National Association of Wholesaler Distributors, that is called Cash is Still King. And it's going to be a great look at how things have changed a bit in 2020. You know, whether it's the pandemic or murder hornets or all of the hurricanes or fires or whatever you want to call it, it's affected the economy significantly. And how has that changed? But at the same time, how are things still the same? How are the basics still kind of the same? And how are they now applied? So that's why the idea of Cash is Still King. And that starts next week on Tuesday, the 20th, with the importance of knowing your customer. And our managing director, Mark Edwards, is going to be on talking about that. For those of you that have watched a bunch of our webinars, you know Mark. He's going to be on talking about that. And then we actually are doing this where we're going to have a practitioner panel. So folks that are doing this every day, day in and day out, kind of in the trenches, so to speak, are going to be coming on, and they'll be on Thursday talking about how this idea of KYC, know your customer, is being implemented in the midst of a global pandemic and all the changes that we're all experiencing. So going to be a really good series. There's 8 parts to that series. I'm sorry, 9 parts to that series. My mistake. And make sure that you go ahead and sign up for that. You can catch all of that. You see the info.creditsafe.com webinars link right there on your screen, but then you'll also get that in the email and everything for you to sign up for that, either those individual webinars or that series. All that's coming up and so much more all the way through to the end of the year. Super excited to be able to share this stuff with you, and just glad to have had you. Michelle, Jeff, thank you so much for your time today and for talking to us about this.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Enjoy, everybody.
Guys. Have a great one, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you all again, no doubt. Thank you.